do it.
Well, it's Wednesday again, and in Toronto here, we're having a major snowstorm, and whatever, it's the way it is. And I'm just glad I traveled last week, and I'm back safe and sound and ready for another incredible Wednesday. And how are you doing, Nicole, today?
You know what? I'm doing great. We're not snowing here in South Carolina, but we've got a crazy rain and wind going on right now. That's just, I had to run out early this morning and do all my errands. So I'm sequestered in my home now, like just waiting it out. But, you know, my travel friend here, I'm so glad you made it home safely.
Yes,
and with lots of interesting things that you're going to be teaching me and our audience pretty soon. So I will go into talking about our special guest today. And I'm really excited about having this lady on. She is a transformational mindset coach. She is a 4-time best-selling author. She's also a speaker. At one point, she lost her voice and could not speak, and that led to her being the founder of the Finding Your Voice Network. Yeah, this is going to be real fun and very interesting, and very proud to say she is a friend of mine. So let's bring Renee Reisch up to the stage and hear what an amazing story she has.
Hello, Nicole and Glenda. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very grateful and very honored to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you here. And let's get into it. From what I understand, you've got lots of stories to share with us. And where do we start? How did you get into this venture?
Really, it's the journey found me. It was something that I was a participant in because it's my life, but it's something that happened not just to me, but for me. And unbeknownst to myself at the time I was going through it. I always say what we go through, we grow through. And boy, was this a growing pain that I never expected. Kind of, slapped me from upside the head, and I didn't know what was happening. In 2013, while I was in my corporate job, taking care of everybody else, I lost sight of myself. And I got very, very sick, and I lost my voice. It was, the Christmas holiday season. And anybody who's been in a retail establishment during that Christmas holiday season, just as a customer, it's something you want to get in and out of. But when you work there and you're in charge of multi-million-dollar teams, you don't really have a way to get out unless you quit. And I was not a quitter, and I never am. And so I was in it, and I had a big responsibility. I was the closing manager rather for that night, and we closed at midnight. So I was out at 1:00 in the morning. And so it was about a 12-hour day. It was a very long day. And I felt sick before I was going in. So not something that I advise people to do, but I knew when I looked at the schedule that I was the only closing manager, and being a holiday, season, I don't say, I have a sore throat, I'm going to stay home, And so I don't think that would have gone over too well. So I went in figuring I knew I had the next day off. I could just, bear it and get through it. And then I could just take care of myself the next day. But what happened is, as the evening was going on, my throat started burning. I felt the fever going up in my body. And I was like, I kept looking at my watch saying, oh my gosh, can we leave? And as I said, I couldn't leave. I was the one that was closing the whole building down. And it turned out that I had a sore in my throat that turned out to be a virus that took over my entire vocal cords. I went into urgent care one day. The next day I went back, and it exploded all over my throat. And there were many, many sores. And I was sent to the emergency room. And then I was sent for a lot of tests, a battery of tests. I had about 20 vials of blood taken from me in about 3.5 months. And they never found out what the root cause was, I will say now, hindsight, is that I wasn't taking care of me. I would say that the metaphoric loss of my voice manifested, or the physical loss of my voice manifested from the metaphoric loss of my voice in my own life, for being a people pleaser, not taking care of me, looking for the outside validation from the inner self-worth, fear, that judgment, all of those things I was afraid of, I think just came to fruition. And
Isn't that true? As women, we tend to do that all the time. We've got to look after the family and everybody else, but we tend to forget about us. And I understand that was me.
Yeah, and, it's really an interesting journey, because when you're in it, you don't realize it. Now, my best friend, I will say, she's watching over me from heaven along with my dad, and she saw it happening. She saw all of it happening in 2013. She would yell at me and say, slow down, slow down. I'm like, no, I have to do this, I have to do that. I had to do everything, but take care of me. And she saw that happening, and I was like pushing it aside, because I was like a bull in a linen closet. I have to. And then there was a greater power that literally put the kibosh on all of it and said, you have to do nothing, and you're going to do nothing, and I'm going to take you out for a while, and it's going to be damn painful. And it was, and I was out for a while, and I couldn't speak. And people who know me know I love to connect, and just love to be with other people. And I wasn't able to do anything. I had no voice. I had sores all over my cords, so I couldn't even swallow without a tremendous amount of pain.
No.
And I didn't have any answers from Western medicine, because they didn't know. They couldn't give me anything like, here, take this, and we'll check back with you in a week to 10 days. There was nothing. I just kept getting voicemails from my doctor saying go for more blood work, as they're trying to peel back the layers of the onion, and to no avail. So it was a very interesting time in my life. Just, as we're recording this, or as we're even on live with this, but it's being recorded, I know it's during the time of COVID, when people are just coming back out, and how we were all quarantined for so long. You can imagine being quarantined by yourself within four walls. You can't eat. You can't have like that tea and honey, because that burns. You can't have anything. And you're just like dwindling away. And it was just really an interesting time. And I didn't really want to live anymore, quite honestly, because I didn't know what I was living for. There was nothing other than extreme pain. And why would I go through so much pain? And I didn't understand. Hindsight, as I said earlier, is that there was a lot to understand. And it was to get in touch with myself first and foremost, take care of the girl looking back at me in the mirror, rather than everybody outside of me. And sometimes you have to just take time out. And literally, I was out to look inside and take a long, hard look inside.
How long were you without speech, Renee? How long did that continue, to where literally you could not speak?
I was close to 4 months, Nicole.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't like laryngitis where you can whisper and you can get some words. I literally had no voice, because, as I said, my vocal cords had sores all over them. So no sound could come out. There was nothing. And it wasn't just that I couldn't speak. That alone was painful enough in a mental way, that you couldn't even talk to your friends, your family. I wasn't allowed to be with anybody. So it's not like I could just hang out with people and just, sit there. I couldn't even do that, because I had a fever. And the doctor said I was very contagious. So I couldn't be with the public. So I was just like locked away. I felt like it's in a jail cell for me. It was like a jail sentence. And I was just locked away and was not able to come out, but just sit in my own muck for 4 months. And that was not pretty.
You think about the things that you do every day without even thinking, talking to someone in a grocery store, or picking up the phone and making a phone call.
Okay. Yeah.
How did you adjust to 4 months of that?
Well, like I said, I didn't want to live, and I don't think I adjusted too well. It was, I thrive on people. Like, water is to a plant, people are to me. They are my water. It's like it's a I know I just feel like a charge when I get with people and I get together with them, and whether it's on Zoom or in person, it's just I thrive off of that interaction. And it, into speaking, into finding out about people, and to serving them, and in what I do, and in so many ways. And this was just really something that, took the rug from under me. It just really
Yeah.
was an interesting time. And you know me, I mean, we've been, on several occasions, we've spoken, and it's really something that if you were told, you will never, you might never speak again. And I didn't know if it was going to be in a month, 2 months, if ever. I didn't know that time frame. I was, it's interesting. As you know, I am spiritual now, but at the time I was on an LOA from my JOB, right? But LOA
Yeah.
was a leave of absence. Now, today, it's the law of attraction. It's completely different meaning.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And things like that. I've had certain things happen where if you don't slow down yourself, the universe will push you, and sometimes very, very hard, to wake you up, and that, I think that's what happened to you.
It was like off of a cliff. Like when you have those dreams or nightmares when you're falling and you're like, you don't know where you're going to land. And yeah, I was just pushed, and I didn't know where I was going to land, if I was going to land, how it would look when I did land. And as I said, it was really interesting. And even when my voice came back, I'm going to share something else. I had an interviewer once ask me, do I remember the last words I spoke before I lost my voice? And I thought that was an interesting question. Nobody had ever asked me. And the answer is no, I don't remember, because you don't know it's your last words. You don't know the last person you spoke to, was that the last time you're going to speak to them? And you don't know when you're, like you said, you take for granted. You wake up, oh, I'll just pick up a phone. I got to call this one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you just go, go, go. And I was doing that. I was in the doing phase rather than the being phase.
Yeah, that's so how did you finally get your voice back? And did you ever find out what this was that took your voice?
Well, I'm going to take a drink first. Water. Stay hydrated is a big thing.
It's
Yes.
extremely.
So what took away my voice was a virus. It wasn't a bacterial infection, it was a virus. And they found out, they being doctors, that it was viral pharyngitis. So inflammation of my vocal cords, my pharynx, the whole area was just inflamed with sores. So as I said, it was quite painful, but I really don't want to stay in the pain. I want to stay in the how, I came through it.
Yes.
And it was in losing my voice, because I want people to feel hope, not like, oh my God, how awful. Yes, it was awful. I'm not making light of it in any way, shape, or form. It was nothing short of awful. What I will say is that it was in the loss of my voice that started the beginning, not even then, but even a little bit after that, the journey of finding my voice, which is coming home to myself and understanding me better, because I never took time out for me. It was always taking time for other people and make sure they were okay, even if I wasn't, putting everybody else first. And it wasn't to be a martyr. It wasn't like, oh, look what I did. Look, it wasn't it. It was like I really genuinely cared about other people more than me, which isn't a nice thing to hear, or for me to actually say that I cared more about somebody else than my own. Yeah, I did. Because there's a reason, and not a good reason, but I'm going to be very transparent. The reason was the people pleaser, wanted to make sure everybody was taken care of, because that's like a form of love. Everyone's happy, they're good. I felt so satisfied with somebody being happy that was enough for me. But the thing is, let's say somebody's having a bad day and you're there to just please them and take care of them, right? You want them to be happy. It's all you're living for, somebody else's happiness. That doesn't sound too good. That doesn't sound healthy.
No.
If your happiness is dependent on their day or their life, well, good luck to you if you think that's how are you gonna ever be happy? If one person that you encounter isn't happy and you're trying your darndest to do whatever you can to fix it, quote unquote, fix it for them, and you can't because it's part of their journey, then how are you going to ever come into your own?
Exactly. And who's picking you up? Who's lifting
Right.
you up? If you're trying to lift everyone else up and you're pouring from an empty cup.
My cup was cracked, a Humpty Dumpty, a million pieces. It was just a million pieces. All of those sayings, yeah, you pouring from an empty cup, looking, outside the frame. You can't see inside the frame. Wait, what is it? You can't see outside the frame when you're in the center of the frame. So it's hard. All of those things, we can't see the forest from the trees. All of those sayings are so true, because you can't when you're in it, in the middle of it. You can't see outside as the observer. Everybody else that's watching is like, oh my God, she's like gonna crash. But I didn't see it. I just kept going, as I say, because I wasn't stopping to see what was happening.
Exactly.
Well, we don't sit back, unfortunately, enough and listen to our bodies, because there's so many different times where we have little things that are happening. There's aches and pains, or there's things that are going on. The old story of, if you don't do something with you may stub your toe the first time, and maybe by the time you hear it, you're already breaking your leg. And that's really what happens. And I know it's happened to me several times throughout my life. And, now I've learned when things happen, sometimes accidents happen or whatever. And it's like, okay, it's time to sit back and just allow the body to rest, because the body is telling you something. And we're not always quick enough to listen to when our body speaks to us.
And we're too stubborn. We're so stubborn at times that we think somewhere in us knows so much more than our body that we ignore it. And that's when you really get the push. I know I've done that a few times.
Yeah, absolutely true. You don't realize, as you said, when you're in the center of it. And it was quite the journey.
So, but you moved through that, and you made a podcast from that?
Well, right now I have a community. It's Finding Your Voice Network. And so anybody that's not aware of it, they are now. It's something that I created. It started out as just a Facebook group, which I have right now. And it was when I was launching my book. It's Finding Your Voice, Unlock Your Chains and Unleash Your Greatness. And when it went to number 1, February 3rd, almost coming up on, it was 2020, so almost coming up on 3 years, that this launched. And I had asked some friends to help me get it out there and help promote it. And when it went to number 1 that day, and those people were helping me, I said, you know what? I don't want to leave the people that were there for me and just say thank you. I appreciate you, which would have been great. But I wanted to give back more. I just really wanted to give back more. And not the people pleasing, but just be in a way to say thank you, because I just felt like that was a huge accomplishment for me to get my voice out there in this way with this book to serve the greater good in so many people. And I said, what can I do for these people? And it was a group of like 20, 25. And I said, I'm going to shut this messenger group down, which is sort of to help me launch it. And I'm going to turn it into a Facebook community, because it's in community we find unity. And I did that. And today I'm proud to say there's almost 900 people in there.
Wow.
And yeah, it's organic growth. It's not just taking anybody in there, just organic growth. And it's really something I'm very proud of. And amazing people are in there. And it's grown into the Finding Your Voice network. And I'm just really grateful for all of it. What we're achieving in there, and we'll be putting a lot of interviews out there and introducing to the VIPs. I know, Nicole, you're aware of it because we spoke about it a while back. So it's something that is a way for people to get their voice out there, be it for sponsorship or articles or advertising. It's a digital to print platform, magazine, and I'm just really grateful to be at the helm of it. And it's been a journey as well for this, because I wanted to give back in such a way that it's going to, have a global impact for people to be seen, heard, and felt around the world.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful. And I want to hear about your book. You said the book you wrote is actually a workbook for people to work through.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Nicole. It's a workbook book. First of all, this is Newport Beach, California. It is not a Photoshop. That wave had just crashed behind me. And as I said before, thankfully it was crashed behind me rather than on top of me, because it would have been a different kind of a picture. Wouldn't have used it at that point, but I'm grateful that I was able to get that shot.
That is
And
beautiful.
thank you. And yeah, it was a gorgeous day in the middle of summer. And this was the way I did it is it's a 83-page book, and it's got 11 chapters, short chapters. But what I did at the end of each chapter is I have what's called here it is, takeaway section. And I pose questions to the reader because I want to be able to hold your hand through the journey of finding your own voice. So the questions I pose, and I leave like 3 to 4 line pages for you to write your answers. So let's say today's 125-23 as we're doing this interview. And you write your answers and you don't really finish, you have like 4 pages and you only answered it on 1. You can go back and keep going back to the questions because we are always evolving as human beings, spiritual beings having a human experience. And as we evolve, those questions will be answered differently. How did you answer it on 125? How would you answer it on maybe 3, of 25 or 6 months, 9 months, whenever you go back to it and answer the questions, because as you are continually evolving, like a butterfly emerges from, the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the butterfly, we are always emerging and evolving in that process as well. So that's what it's about. And I really encourage people to get it because it's an evergreen tool that you will always be able to use in any journey, any part of that journey in your life.
Oh, that's wonderful. And, I know so many people that this would benefit because there are times I know that I lost my voice during a marriage, really. I chose to be quiet, to not argue or fight. And then it becomes a habit, and you look at yourself and you're like, I'm not speaking my truth. And I would start, it can actually create illness.
Well, disease, to your point, Nicole, disease is dis-ease of the body. And, what we think we become. And like you said, it's easier. Well, I'll just be quiet. I don't want to aggravate the situation more. So anytime something arises or, in your marriage or something that arose in your marriage, like, I'm just going to be quiet. And I did that too, whether it was in, personal or, work. I'm just going to be quiet. The one that wants to use her voice was silent because you don't want to create more waves other than these waves in the ocean. I don't want to create more waves. So I just really, don't like friction, but that doesn't mean that you can't speak. Not liking friction doesn't mean you're going to be, the instigator. You could be the calmer in that, the calm in the storm. There's other ways to do it. But at that point in time, I really didn't speak my truth. I didn't speak up because I'm not the person then I was now. People always say, what would you tell your younger self? I was like, speak up, get over yourself.
But we all have times, whether it's confidence, whether there's all different reasons why in times of life that we hold ourselves back and don't speak our truth.
Well, there are reasons. And if there's children involved, of course, there's a lot of reasons, not just like speak up. It's easy to say that. But if you don't know and you're not in that situation, if somebody's, God forbid, abusive and you speak up, you really like, I'm just going to speak up. You'd be like, run for your life, run for the hills.
Right.
So it's not so easy to just speak up. There's a lot of, gray area within that. But for me, it was, I think, more of a confidence issue, trusting my own voice, believing in myself, trust, faith, and believe. There are a lot of those words I use as hashtags, never give up and be you. Right. And I wasn't doing any of those at the time because when you're just always afraid of what other people might say or think about you, you're not concerned, with the message that you're putting out there, then who are you, again, living for? And what are you doing? And who are you becoming? Be confident in yourself. And there are going to be people who don't agree with you. There are going to be the naysayers. But that means then you're making room for the people who do believe in you and the people that you are here to serve. Mm-hmm. So don't think it is that you're here to serve everybody, but you're here to serve the people who are waiting to hear your voice.
And you never know who you're going to help. There can be one person that needs your message. You just never know. And that's what I had to learn is if I was wrong and they didn't like it, that was okay, because I might help that with my either thought or my opinion. I can help. If I help one person, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we also learn
Absolutely.
as we age, we also learn the wisdom of what of it's not always what you say, but more or less how you say it as well.
100%. 100%. And it is how you speak is how it's received. If you're
Right.
coming at somebody and then they put their defensive wall up because it's like, oh my gosh, like what did I do? It's like, wow. If you come to somebody with an open, loving heart, compassion, empathy, caring, then they're going to be open and receptive to listening and leaning into what you're saying. But if you're coming in accusational, then that's an attack. And what's the first? Someone is going to shut down in many ways. And, Nicole, you said about losing your voice when you were married. People might hear my story, or when they hear the story, they're going to say, well, how did she lose her voice like that? It was mine, I believe, was like a trifecta. It was mental, physical, and emotional. The mental was because doctors couldn't help me and I had no idea how to help myself. Physically, because it was so flipping painful because there was all of my vocal cords.
Mm.
And emotionally, because I couldn't be with my family, I couldn't be with my best friend. Thankfully, at the time, she was very smart. She was able to get a mask like people have now. This was 2013, so I don't think they were giving it out like that. But she got a mask, and she came over, and she would make a kosher chicken, and she would buy things at the store that she thought I could swallow when she knew I couldn't swallow much, because I knew that was the love that she was bringing to me with her, loving heart to try to help sustain me because I wasn't sustaining myself. It was too painful to even swallow my own saliva. So I remember looking forward to going to sleep the minute I opened my eyes because I didn't want to face the pain. I literally said, I want to go back to bed. I just want to sleep because I wanted to wake up and go, okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
But what I realized, and I think many listening to this will realize, the very thing that we want to escape in life, that we want to run away from, is the biggest lesson that we're meant to face and face up to. And I feel like emotions as I'm speaking. It's not pretty.
No, but it's very true. I know throughout life, I myself have dealt with same things of, sitting back, allowing others, and, sometimes too scared to speak out, and, always going through the things of what it will be if I did speak out. So you didn't. And you sort of get to a point where there's something that comes where you it's like you're facing your demon straight in the eyes.
Yeah.
And that demon, and all of a sudden you just know that you've got to step out of that comfort zone. You have no choice but to do it.
Yeah, talk about being pushed over the cliff. Yeah.
I really
fear of the judgment and what are people going to say or think. It's like, wait a minute, Renee, what about you? What do you say? What do you think?
Yeah.
That's the thing that you've got to face. And I cared more about what other people thought than I cared about what I thought about me. Their opinion, and it sounds so backwards, but I allowed their opinion of me to matter more than my opinion of me. It's like, are you kidding? No, I'm not. But how many of us do that?
A lot.
Am I good enough? Am I valued? Am I worthy? Who decides that?
Well,
You're letting somebody else, you're giving the keys to your happiness, like the keys to your car, you're giving the keys to your happiness into somebody else's pocket. Saying, here, do what you want with them. Really? Whose life is this?
And this is what's going on also very strongly in the younger generation now. I've been watching what's going on. Suicidal rates are climbing high.
Horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. And, that's why coming on these shows and teaching this to others, hopefully what we can do is, to make parents more aware, And you know, if the parent sees this, that they will allow their child to listen and watch, and hopefully that these messages come out, because you know, we've gone through our own journeys, but the younger generation, you know, they're so caught up in some of these things that are going on social media, that it's cutting them back in actual fact, instead of bringing them forward.
There's two things I want to touch on to what you just said. One, I posted something not long ago. It was in an article I wrote, and it was about looking at people's real life, REEL, versus their REAL life, the highlight reel on social media of what people are putting out there. And then you're really going to think you're not good enough, because look what everybody else is doing. Look how wonderful how could I even compare to that? So good luck, right?
Yeah. They're so perfect. Yeah.
So, right, everything is just as they want you to see them. That's the highlight reel versus the REAL of the muck that's probably going on behind, closed doors, or what's happening. But they have to look a certain way or be a certain way, or that's how people expect me to show up, so I must show up that way. What about the ooey gooey mucky stage of the chrysalis before it emerges as a beautiful butterfly? But if you don't get real with yourself, that highlight reel won't last too long before you're forced to get real with yourself and see that. And that was a big piece of it. And the other thing was, so that was social media. The other thing, there was two things. I'm trying to remember the other thing already. I don't know. What was the first thing? Oh, the suicide rate you mentioned.
Yeah.
And that's probably a lot of it is what people are looking at on social media, because when they see everybody else's, things that they're doing in life. There was another thing too I was going to mention, and if I think of it, I'll say it. But it's definitely something to be aware of and be alerted to. I said it was horrible. We're hearing about the suicide rate. I don't want to say the word horrible. It is, but I want to say a different word. It's more of an awakening, that we can't say, oh, that's horrible. Well, what are we doing about it? How are we addressing it? And what are we doing to help people that, you don't know what's going on inside. You see the outside, but you don't know what's like. Really check in with your friends and family. How are they? Not on the outside. How are they? You look great. You look good. What's happening inside? How are you doing?
And I can tell you, as somebody who went through a lot of stuff in her life, I always had a big smile, and people never, they always thought, oh, yeah, she's got it all made. But inside, so many times through my life, I was crumbling. And people just took it at that, oh, look at her, she's got the world by her feet. And it was so not that. But nobody ever checked in, really checked in. Like, I can tell you, I thank God I'm a different person today than I was years ago. But, like when you're as a mom or a friend, we all know our friends and our kids, and listen to the voice. Don't take it off. Like even this morning, I listened to a friend of mine and I checked in because they weren't feeling well yesterday. And they said, oh, I'm doing okay. And I said, no, you don't sound okay. How are you really? We need to do that because we're moving too fast. And it's so important that we need to take time to listen.
My best friend, who I was speaking about, who's passed in 2017, and it doesn't seem like it was so long ago, but I just feel like she's so present still, because I keep her presence, probably why.
Yeah.
But she knew when I was and when I may have looked like I was, and she said, what's wrong? I said, nothing. She would shut everything up. What is it? And like, how do you know? She goes, because I know you. She knew me better than me. She knew me better than I knew myself. And it's people who are really close to, and on the outside, Glenda, to that point, unless it's somebody who really is in your inner circle, who really knows you, if things look great on the outside, why would they think to check in? Are you really okay? Like, who would come out and say, I want to make sure, because I heard you say you may not be okay if you're smiling, and maybe, but it's true. Look at Robin Williams. Everybody thought he had it all together. He had it all made. He made a lot of money. He was, on TV. He had a family. Everything looked, under the air quotes, which I hate, he looked great from the outside. There was a lot going on the inside that wasn't so great. So
And,
something
with our
Yeah.
teenagers that you're talking about too,
yeah. Oh,
because
right.
I found in my daughter's, I think it was her freshman year in high school, my youngest one, I found a suicide prevention card. And that's not something, it's like I said, Keely, you have to talk to me. I said, I will not let this go. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. No, for me to find this, you're not okay. And it just came down to the point that you are my child and I will fight to the death for you. So we're going to go. If you don't want to talk to me, you're going to talk to someone, but I will not walk out of this room and let you sit here and tell me it's okay. And what you're doing, I said, is making me not okay. I said, so we're going to handle this, but you can't, when someone tells you they're okay, you can't just close your eyes and turn your back anymore. It's too critical that we're going to lose a life or lives of our younger generation because they feel like they can't live up to certain things or because they feel like they can't talk to me. That is not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And
Nicole, I'm going to flip the tables here for a second. I'm going to ask a question of you. I just to make sure, is your daughter okay today? Because I'm sure other people are listening, wanting to know.
She is. And it was things with school, certain things, that she was going through a freshman year, maybe being picked on a little, not thinking she was good enough in volleyball, that people were better. She had a very strained relationship with her father at that time. So it was a multitude of many things that were adding up that you just, you think, okay, I'll be better. But it's like, no, we have to address those things. If we have to sit down with your dad, we will talk to him. If we need to go to a counselor, we'll do that. I said, if volleyball is too much, we pull out. I said, I am not going to lose you. I will not. And so, yes, she is much better, but I couldn't walk away. I forced myself. I forced her to talk to me. I said, and if not me, someone else, but we will be addressing this, and I think parents are afraid to do that to their kids. But to me, it's like, what if I'd have walked out and said, you know what, it's high school. That's how it goes. You'll look back and it'll be okay. What if I had handled it that way?
They may not have did anything to look back on, or nothing that was going to be enjoyable to look back on, rather than an intervention. I don't think that was an accident that you found that card.
No,
I really don't think that was no coincidences, as you know, Nicole, in this life. There's no coincidences. You walked in and you saw it there. So somehow she left it in a place where maybe subconsciously she wanted you to find it. Not at a conscious level, but she really was hoping. It was a cry for help, and a subconscious, state that she was really needing and didn't know how. Like, how do you walk up to a parent, your own parent, and say, listen, I'm thinking of, taking my life. I mean, how would you even say that? You don't even know. It could be a straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, I was also, which I don't talk about too often, but I was bullied in school as well. And that was, I think, the beginning of me not having a voice. I didn't speak up then. Then it happened when I was in sales, when I was a commissioned sales. I wasn't, I didn't want to make waves. I never wanted to make waves. I wanted people to like me. And so I didn't speak up. So I never used my voice when I was bullied, when I was taken advantage of in a work environment, in any other way. I just never spoke. And then it came to a point I didn't have a voice in which to speak. So when people hear like losing your voice or she lost her voice, it was the physical, it was the emotional, it was the mental, it was in every which way that a voice can be taken. So in finding your voice it means like I now can support people in actually getting their voice after what is holding you back. Why are you not speaking? So what I did is, not only do I have the Finding Your Voice network, I also created the Voice Blueprint. So what the heck is
I love that?
So the Voice Blueprint is, we all come into this life with our own blueprint, our fingerprint, and not one is the same. Even if you're an identical twin, not one is the same. There is something that's going to be a little bit different. So the Voice Blueprint that I created is from V to E. It's an acronym. So I'll give you the V and the E, and the rest I'll talk to people privately if they want to find out more about it. Would love to speak with them. From vulnerability to empowerment in the journey of finding your voice. And that's what I coach to today. I'm more with the executive women's coaching, but if other people would like to speak with me, I certainly am open. I don't want to, narrow it down to just the corporate women. The reason I say the corporate executives is because that was me. That's where I lost my voice. So what better niche to go into than the one where I didn't have one for myself. So that's why I chose it, because I know no matter what letters you have, in front of you, whatever letters of the alphabet, CEO or manager or corporate executive, whatever it is, they are letters. They're not defining of who you are. But when you get into a role in your life, you make that who you are, but it's not who you are inside. You still may be a parent. You may be a teacher. You may be a best friend, a confidant, a mentor. Whatever you do, it's what you do. It's not who you are. But so often in life, we make what we do who we are, which is what I did. And that was my biggest mistake. I let it define me as a person. And that was the first thing that I should have done. But I did. So now I created that acronym and that coaching for those people, because that's what I really feel is so needed. And that's what I do. And that's why I do it.
Also, corporate world has, women have come a long way. There's no doubt about it. But in especially still in corporate world, we're still in a man's world. And it makes it really difficult because, women feel that, it's really still hard to climb that ladder. And for the amount of men there are as opposed to women, it's still not balanced or equal. So the speaking out sometimes of, how you really feel about things, or if you need to challenge things, and that a lot of women still don't feel that ability to speak out. And it's a serious situation. And I know I have some a few very close friends that are high time executives in some industries, and the stories that I've heard are still, it's
still out there, I'm sure.
A woman's world, or by any means. And it's, it's not that it should be a woman's world. It would be a nice world if we would find a little bit more of a balance, more so than one more than the other.
Yeah, it's definitely more with women's empowerment, which is what I see you do as well. And it's that's what it is. But that's why I created that blueprint to help them walk them back home to themselves. So it's not like I'm telling people what to do. I'm there to help guide them along the journey of going home to themselves and having a support system in which to do it, because we all need that support. I know, and having my best friend with me during that time, and it was about 20 years that I was so blessed to have her, in this physical world with me, that to know what it really means to have somebody who's truly there for you, no matter what.
Yeah.
Any date, time, it was like time collapsed. It just didn't matter what time of day or night it was, because when you need someone, they're there for you. And she was there, sunshine, rain, whatever storms or clouds were coming over, she was there. And a gift that kept on giving, that keeps on giving in another way today. And I'm just really grateful and blessed. So, and now that I've taken that and I've turned it into, I've got the book, the Finding Your Voice book, the Finding Your Voice network, and the coaching, the voice blueprint. So things that I'm putting out there are to really inspire, empower, and really uplift the voices of those really wanting to be helped in that way. And it doesn't mean that you're reaching for help, that you are helpless, or that it's a sign of weakness. It's the best. If you think about Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, all these coaches have coaches, and not all coaches are the same. I will say that, because everyone's a coach all of a sudden. Everybody's in coaching. What you say? What sets you apart? First of all, I don't know anybody else as a coach, and I've been with many different coaches who physically went through this journey and knows what it feels like mentally, physically, and emotionally. So whoever that's coming to me, I can touch on every different point, because I actually walked in those shoes, the mental, the physical, the emotional, the corporate, how it feels to have it, working in this environment or that environment, or whatever that looks like. I've experienced all these different, a trifecta, if you will, of different experiences. And I didn't understand why I got hit from every which way. It wasn't just like, the emotional piece of it or the physical piece of it, but it was every way I could get hit. I was hit, and I was like punched in any possible. It was a sucker punch in my life. But then looking back, I realize it's now allowed me to help people in different spaces of where they are in their own life. Had I not experienced all of that pain, not that I'm grateful, hindsight, I'm grateful to have experienced it, to come into the other side of it, because now I'm in a space where I can. And I'm also going to say something else that you touched on earlier, Glenda, about, where we are in our journey. I'm still evolving. I'm not going to tell anybody that I figured it out or I'm better than anything or anybody, because I sure as heck am not. I don't put myself in any higher space other than experience of life. And we see life through our own filtered lens of our personal experiences.
And I agree with you 1,000,000% there. You know what, at this point in life, I feel the exact same way. Yes, as I've gone through life, I've become a lot wiser, but I've gone through a lot. And through that, I've experienced it. But I still fall. I still don't have
100%.
I'm going to be learning till the day I die. It's part of life. And I'm humble enough to say, no matter who it is, I have a mentor who's much younger. He's the same age as my son. And he's got so much wisdom. I learned, I was actually just in last weekend, I was just in London, England with him and a group of people. And he's got so much wisdom in certain areas. So I open myself up to saying, you know what, whoever my teacher is, they will appear as I need them, because it doesn't have an age or anything. It's, even babies, I have learned through my life from all sorts. So yes, that's all part of life, is at least being humble enough to accept whoever is around you or in front of you to be able to listen.
And I always think the more I learn, I look around and I think I know so little. Yeah. I know a lot, but I know so little because I'm always learning. There's so much that we can actually absorb that it's not possible to stop learning. I don't want to. I think that keeps us alive and moving and our brains thinking. So I'm going to be reading and writing and doing everything I can up until I can't.
You know what, Nicole, same. I'm like this sponge. I'm always taking in knowledge and trying to learn. I feel the more I learn, the more I can impact and impart those words and those teachings onto others who I encounter.
And that's really what it's all about. If you can, like for me, I feel the same way. If I can touch one person's life and make somebody a little bit happier or help them so they don't fall quite as hard as maybe I did at some point in time, then I've done something that's really great and constructive in life. And that's
absolutely.
And to that point, I did a healing on someone last week. And she wrote me back. She goes, I meditated and I was told you were one of my guardian angels. One person. I helped one person. And to me, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was such a big deal for her to tell me that. I was so touched. And when I say if I can just help one person, I truly mean it. I truly mean that.
That is amazing. And Nicole, you have a very special gift. I've been honored to be on the receiving end of that gift as well. And it is something that, be proud of it, be happy about it. And you never know, like, you don't think you need to hear that, how you've helped somebody, but you really do. And not that you need to hear it, but it's nice to hear. I'm going to say that, not needed, but nice. Because like you said, you can help one person. I remember walking back in to an office the gal, it was a young gal who had bought my book, and I said I'd be back the next day to do a signing for her, and I did. And she was already like, it's an easy read. It's only 83 pages, but she was already, halfway through in a day or something. And she had written, her penmanship was beautiful, but she was filling out the pages. And how often does an author get to see somebody really taking an action?
Yeah.
Upon the writings that they put and to incorporate it into her life. I said, I don't need to read what you wrote. It's not for me, it's for you. But my mom, who I'm at her place right now and blessed to be here, she was in the waiting room, and I said, Mom, look at this. I said, this is, the book that I hadn't told my family when I wrote the book. It was a surprise to all of them. But she had already known it was out. And I had brought it to her. I said, she actually was answering all these questions, which is what they're there for. But you don't always think you're going to see it in action, right? It was, how often are you going to see somebody answering the questions that you put there? But it was a really, like you said, even one person to know that your work has helped them in some great way in your life.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. It's so special. And, it's just, and that's why I want to keep learning and putting myself out there. And I don't see myself stopping,
Same.
And people like you give me motivation, Glenda and Renee. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to put it out there and to talk about it and to bring these amazing people on as guests like you, Renee. I mean, Glenda, we're very blessed.
Yeah. And I do believe that we need to hear, and I'll tell you why, because when we don't hear that we're helping others, and even if it is one person, we sometimes can lose in our own judgment. Like, we're all human. So, all we need to do is start second guessing ourselves and saying, maybe I'm not helping anyone. And then, especially to go and start doing lives and things like that, you start second guessing yourself, and then you start losing your momentum because of that. And maybe you're holding yourself back, and instead of bringing out your genius, you're holding yourself back. And maybe that was the day when somebody was supposed to see you and hear you, and you had something that could have made a difference in their life. So I think when we hear it, it's something that we need to hear for ourselves too, to help us keep going.
Absolutely. And I love the title of your show, Let's Get Real, because it is in the REAL of life is when you can really help people the most, to really be real and be authentic. We hear that word thrown around so much, authentic. But it really is, because we're still not putting it out there. We're still saying, oh, look at this, look at that, look how wonderful. Well, it's not always so wonderful. I'm going to tell you, it's been a heck of a few years. It's not all been so peachy keen and rose-colored glasses, because I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses. I like to look on the bright side of things. I like to be positive, but I'm going to tell you, I've had my days as well. And you just have to try to, what do you do when you have those days? You have to see, what can I do, not what can't I do, because it's easy to go down that dark rabbit hole and spiral. And the more you start thinking about those negative things, the lower your vibration gets, and the lower that, you go into that, and you start finding more and more of the, negative self-talk. Right. But when you start pulling yourself out, and the second you realize it, snap out of it, snap yourself, go for a walk if you can, if it's not pouring or raining, or put on music or something. I mean, I have to literally do that as well to get myself out of where I'm going down, if, when that happens, to get myself out of that space, because it happens to everybody. I don't care who you are. It happens. And what sends you there could be something that triggers in one way or the other, and you start going there and then say, okay, stop. And then, what happens? Why is it happening? Pull the tools from your tool belt. If you don't have any tools, reach out. I'll give you a bunch. There's tools. There's things that we can do. And just being with the two of you, ladies, it's really what we've gone through and grown through and continue to help heal each other. It's through the power of our voices. I am so grateful to have my voice again today. It's not the same as it was when I was in. I'm not going to say the way it sounds, that's the same. But the voice, the way it's coming through, because it's how I speak to myself. That's the inner voice.
We learn the hard way, don't we? And I want you to, one of the things that I really suggest to my clients, and that is start to become aware of what goes on in your own self and the thing. Like, I know when I have times where, I go through times where I don't sleep as well. And when I'm tired, those are the times where my energy becomes low. And those are the times when we tend to start falling down. And, instead of beating yourself up for these things, give yourself a break, understand. And so it's just about, just of saying of putting your voice out. We have to learn to give ourselves a break, give ourselves an understanding when there's things in your body that don't feel well and don't feel something's wrong. Reach out to somebody if you're not sure, because that's what we're all here for.
You know what? That's your body's way of saying, I need you. Now, if your best friend reached out and said, I need you, you wouldn't say, no, I'm not available, unless you totally had something huge going on that you couldn't be available. You would be there for that person.
Absolutely.
Your body has ways of saying, excuse me, I need some help over here.
Yeah.
Something's happening and I need your attention. So it's your wake up call. It's your body saying, excuse me, help me. And if you don't pay attention to it, then that could be, more of an issue rather than addressing what it is and think, okay, I feel you, I see you, I hear you, something's going on. I need to take a step back. I need to just take some time and just be instead of do. Just be. And it's not always easy, especially as an entrepreneur, because we're the ones that are running, the show. And if the show must go on, what are you going to do? But sometimes you've got to take that, a step back and time out, which will help propel you even further ahead because you're in a better state of mind. Your body is rested. You're not worried so much because you had the downtime to sleep and to rest and relax and rejuvenate. And then you can wake up more refreshed to do what you want to do. And you'll probably get more done anyway.
Right.
Than you would if you were up till 2:00 in the morning, pushing, and just, falling asleep with your arm out on the computer because you were exhausted. Then you're not really feeding your body or your soul in any way.
Yeah. And you wake up with all the keys embedded into your forehead once you're slept on your computer.
That's not a key to success. No.
Not attractive. No, you're absolutely right. And, I go through meditation. I lead meditation every Monday. And that's what I tell people. Your body is brilliant. This is your time while we're here. What does your body have to say? We start from the toes. We go all the way up. It takes a few minutes to listen to your body. Listen to it. It will tell you everything. It will tell you everything you need to know.
Well, ladies, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is my job.
And you do it so well, Glenda.
So, we're getting close to the end. And we say this every week. I don't know where time goes. It goes by just too fast. And Renee, you've been an absolute pleasure and a godsend to us. And I want to thank you for coming on today and spreading some incredible, important news that everybody, no matter how old they are, should really be listening to. But to our guests, can you give us a little golden nugget that they should be, what they can be they of, or what they should think to moving forward in their life?
One thing I would really recommend is gratitude. When you wake up and you go to sleep at night, be in gratitude. What can you be grateful for instead of thinking what went wrong and this, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I should have, could have, would have. What can you be grateful for? Pick one thing. If you can't think of three, pick one thing that you're grateful for. You have a bed, you had a meal to eat, you got to talk to a loved one, you got to spend time with people that you care about, you accomplished a goal that you wanted to do. Pick something and be really grateful for it. The more you find to be grateful for, the more you will see to be grateful for. And it works conversely too. So when you start going down that rabbit hole, flip the switch and turn to gratitude.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And Nicole, what would you like to end this session off with today?
I think I'm going to keep it in with using our voices, because our voices, like Renee said, when you lose it, it's just a huge change in your life. But in using our voices, we can use them negatively or we can use our voice positively. And I would encourage everyone, with what we're going through now, there's a lot of dissension, there's a lot of argumentative people. If you can't say something nice, don't say it at all, maybe. But I would just encourage everyone to find, even if it's just one thing, to say kindly to maybe someone you're holding the door open for. and wish them a good day. I always told my kids, kindness is free. Just use a kind word, smile at them. If they don't smile back, that's on them. You continue being you. Use your voice wisely, use it a lot, and keep the kindness flowing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, if you haven't learned today about using your voice, using what you've been given, you know what? We've all got one time in our lives to use it. Now is your time. Don't sit down and just sit back. If you got to say something, sit back and think twice how you're going to say it. But please do say it. Thank you all for watching. And until next week, just remember, just get real with yourself. Thank you all.